Hello, everybody. I am Dana Mantilia, and I am very excited today. We are going to be talking with Mark Langford, and he has a company. What is the name of your company?
Aberfoyle Associates.
All right. And what are we going to be talking about today?
CMMC.
Perfect. Okay. So CMMC, this is a whole new hot topic here that is going to affect a lot of people. And we're hoping that all of your expertise will be able to fill us in. And we're going to today just talk about the general overview. What is CMMC?
Great. So the CMMC program, the whole idea behind it was to help protect controlled unclassified information that the Department of Defense was losing through its defense supply chain. There are about 300,000 defense contractors in the United States. Most of them are small, some are quite large, and the need to protect vital information throughout the defense supply chain was what motivated the Department of Defense to create this program. Now, they tried a few years ago with another program to improve the maturity level of cybersecurity throughout their defense contractor members, but the CMMC program adds a whole new level of maturity to the processes involved with protecting vital data.
And I think one of the big things is going to be the difference between self-assessment and a third-party assessment. So everybody could have been saying for the past few years, yes, we're following all these guidelines and everything. Well, now it's time to pay the piper because someone is going to be knocking on the door and you are going to have to prove to them. So this is one of the big differences with CMMC. And can you tell us a little bit, how does this compare with FedRAMP and DFAS?
Sure. So FedRAMP is a federal initiative to protect the cloud-based services. It's a way of putting controls in place to improve the security of access and storage of information in the cloud. And it's based primarily on a NIST standard, NIST 853. And there are three different levels to it, low, moderate, and high. The FedRAMP program, though, is primarily cloud-based. The predecessor to the CMMC program, the more direct predecessor, is the DFARS program. And DFARS was an acronym for Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. Yeah, it's based on a different NIST standard. It's based on the NIST 800-171, which is the same set of security controls that the CMMC program is based on. Now, there are two big differences between the earlier DFARS program, which was launched in 2017, and the CMMC program that was launched just a few months ago. And you touched upon one of them a moment ago, and that was the self-assessments. In the earlier DFARS program, defense contractors were allowed to perform self-assessments of their cybersecurity readiness and of their compliance with the NIST 800-171 controls list. The CMMC program does away with that. Instead, CMMC introduces and requires that assessments be done by certified third-party assessment organizations. The other main difference between CMMC and the earlier DFARS program was the use of what's called a POA&M, a plan of action and milestones. In the earlier DFARS program, defense contractors were allowed to create exceptions, to list the exceptions to their compliances, and to include a plan of action for when those security controls would be put in place. And as long as they had that plan, then the Department of Defense continued to allow them to conduct business. So that's been done away with as well. And CMMC requires compliance for all of the controls for a particular maturity level. In addition, with FedRAMP and with the DFARS program and other legislature like the FISMA program, the Federal Information System Management program from many years ago. Unfortunately, none of these certifications have been granted reciprocity. So any defense contractors that have previously passed FedRAMP or FISMA or even the DFARS program still have to go through the CMMC program from scratch. Now, if you have gone through some of the earlier programs, then you're probably pretty far along in compliance with CMMC, but it is still a new program, and you need to meet all of the requirements of the program without getting a free pass because of your prior completion of another certification.
I think one thing that's scary about this whole thing is, in addition to the third-party assessment and no plan of action, it's pass or fail. It's yay or nay, yes or no. So that's the whole idea, that someone else is coming in now and is going to be doing the assessment. And if you're missing things, you can't just make a plan of action and say, okay, we're going to get to that kind of thing. So that's one of the other things. And I wanted to ask you too, is how are these contractors finding out that they're going to be held responsible for this? Is the word on the street out there, kind of?
Right. So the Department of Defense initiated the program and announced that 15 pilot program contracts in calendar year 2021 will be governed by the CMMC certification requirement. So for any contractors who are awarded business or who want to be considered for business in those 15 contracts, then they must be CMMC certified. And by the way, 15 contracts translates into an impact on perhaps 1,500 defense contractors because of the trickle-down involvement in many smaller contractors are going to be involved in providing components to the larger contractors. So, if the Department of Defense isn't notifying a contractor directly about the level that they need to be compliant with, then the prime contractor that is involved in the contract will dictate to their subcontractors what the required level of completion of certification would need to be.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now, how is this whole thing set up? What's the structure of CMMC?
Right. So whereas the earlier DFARS program was 4 different clauses, clause 7012, 7019, 7020, and 7021, which are kind of graduated clauses of increasing security levels, the CMMC program is based on 5 maturity levels. The certification for any level within the CMMC program requires the involvement of a certified third-party assessor. Within these 5 maturity levels, there are 17 different cybersecurity domains, where a domain is just a grouping of security controls. Those 17 domains include up to 171 total security controls. There are also in the CMMC program several practices. And the practices include things like making sure that each security control has a written policy that covers that particular control, that there is a written procedure that describes how that control is implemented and that supports the policy, and that there is a resource plan that proves that there are going to be ongoing resources dedicated to making sure within an organization that that particular security control is going to continue to be implemented and adopted in a consistent manner according to the written procedure.
And I think one thing real quick that everybody needs to remember is this is not cramming for a test or cramming for when that assessor is going to come down here and, give you a yay or a nay. This has to be a whole new culture. It's supposed to be going on pretty much already right now, but some folks may not be. So this is going to be a big transformation, and it's going to take a while. So the sooner they get started on this, the better off that they will be, knowing it's a cultural change.
Yeah, absolutely right. Whereas previous attempts to improve cybersecurity readiness were kind of like a checklist approach, where organizations, as we mentioned earlier, were allowed to perform a self-assessment. The CMMC program is much stricter. It's not only involves certified third-party assessors, but yeah, you're right. It's in order to pass a CMMC certification, an organization really needs to prove that it is living and breathing and has adopted and implemented the security controls as they were intended to be, which is to improve protection for vital information.
Okay, and then the big question that they're all going to want to know is, well, when do I have to comply with this?
Right. So the Department of Defense is going to dictate for any given contract whether it's going to be governed by CMMC. A contractor can bid on that contract, but cannot win it, cannot be awarded the contract unless they prove that they are CMMC compliant. And once again, there are different maturity levels within the CMMC program, maturity level 1s through 5. So the Department of Defense or the prime contractor is going to dictate which maturity level you need to be certified at in order to be awarded a particular contract. Now, and that is in effect through 2025. By September of 2025, the intention by the Department of Defense is that all contractors are going to be CMMC compliant by that point in time. So I guess there is time to prepare, but you really don't want to be in a situation where you're not sure how mature your security processes are, and then find that there is business that you want to bid on, or business that your prime contractor is ready to award to you if you are CMMC compliant. Far better to start doing an assessment now to gauge where you're at if you believe that you are going to be providing goods and services in the defense supply chain at some point over the next couple of years.
And I think the other thing too for people to think about is that as more and more of the contractors are required to do this, then there's going to be more assessments that are going to have to be done, and the assessors that are not growing at the same pace that the number of contractors that need to be certified are. Obviously, it will be increasing, and people will be getting certified in that. But when you need to schedule a recertification, or reassessment, if you fail, you have to make sure that that's going to be able to get done before you're granted that contract. So the easiest thing is just to start on this thing now and then tackle it right now, one bite at a time, and then you're going to get certified ahead of time when it's required for fewer people right now. So
yeah, the analogy that I would suggest is that this is a bit like an IRS audit. If you know that you are going to be audited, to what extent are you going to prepare? Probably a lot more if you know that you're going to be audited. And the CMMC program, in order to become certified, the assessment is essentially an audit. So, you want to make sure that you're prepared. The amount of time that you would have to wait before re-auditing, if you fail an audit, has not been defined yet, as far as I'm aware, as of this writing.
I haven't heard it either.
So it's something that you want to make sure that you're ready for and that you pass the first time, because there are delays and a lot of additional work that are going to be required to try to do it again.
All right. Well, I think that was very good. So that's the end of our first little video series. And I want to put Mark's contact information up here. Mark helps people with CMMC certification. So if you're looking to kind of get the ball rolling here, you can reach out to Mark. He is much more technical than I am. You can reach out to me and I can get you in touch with Mark. We're going to keep making our videos here. And then the next time, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is CUI and how do I handle it. So quickly, you want to just tell them what CUI stands for?
Sure. CUI is controlled unclassified information. So this is contract-related information that is not classified by the military as being secret or top secret, whatever, but it is often used in contractual language and communications between the Department of Defense and their contractors. And in the next episode, we'll take a much closer look into what exactly constitutes CUI, because that's what the Department of Defense is trying to protect with the CMMC program.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you around on the next video. Bye.